And here we are live. This is the channel about whole life wellness. I'm Dr. Tom Salt, a functional medicine practitioner.
And I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse.
And we're talking about prevention and whole life wellness. And tonight we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, and spiritual functional medicine. So what does that mean?
So obviously when you're talking about the medicine, that would have to be with your brain. So your thoughts. And then from your thoughts, a lot of times goes into that emotional piece and then your spiritual piece.
Yeah, so the mental...
And spiritual is, obviously there's a lot of different varieties of what people claim as spiritual, some claim it as a religion. It's the connection to something or the belonging of what you believe in.
Yeah, I think it's really important to distinguish that it's really beliefs that we're talking about. Hi, Yolanda.
Hi, Yolanda.
And hi, Selena. It's really spiritual beliefs and this idea and this sense of a connection to something greater. That's the spiritual piece. So mental, emotional, and spiritual. And why would that have anything to do with being healthy? I thought healthy was like sleep and exercise and eating.
It has everything to do with being healthy.
Like what?
Well, your thoughts become
I'm gonna get you more in the frame here.
Your beliefs and your thoughts become who you are, and what you strive for in your life and what you attract. So our mind has the ability to, create a beautiful day, and it has the ability to turn a beautiful day into a whole day. And when you don't have that emotional level, no matter how healthy you are in the other areas of your life, you're not going to have true, vibrant health and happiness without it.
There's a very interesting story. I can't remember which book of the Dalai Lama it's in, but he tells a story of a childhood friend of his. The time that they are fleeing Tibet because of the invasion, and I'll tell you another story about the Dalai Lama in a minute. One of his friends gets captured, the Dalai Lama's friends gets captured by the Chinese, and he's imprisoned. And according to him, I wasn't there, but according to him, he was tortured and treated poorly and all kinds of awful things. And then he was just really... And he walked from wherever he was all the way across Tibet into India to find the government in exile, the Dalai Lama's government in India. And when he walked into the compound, he was all smiles and happy. And the question that was asked of him is, how did you survive this treatment? Mm-hmm. And he said, I had compassion for my captors. And so when they would do bad things to me, I recognized that I was hurting them too. And what a remarkable thing, and that sort of is the ultimate of that, about that space between stimulus and response, right? And to be able to exercise that, and that's the goal of meditation. It's the goal of yoga. It's the goal really of Christian prayer. It's the goal of Buddhism. It's really the goal of pretty much every spiritual tradition. And I think that's just a remarkable story, but we tend to just go off. I mean, how many of you would raise your hand if I said, has anybody ever made you mad? The truth is, no. Nobody's ever made you mad. People can really annoy you, but then but all these emotional aspects, they're choices. And that's the mental, emotional, spiritual domain. In fact, there's strong evidence that our emotional state actually turns on and turns off genes. So emotional states that we would call maybe negative or destructive tend to turn on inflammatory genes and turn off anti-inflammatory genes. And the opposite is also true. So, if you're somebody with an autoimmune disease and you're in an emotional state all the time that is escalating your inflammatory cascade, that's not going to be good for you. One of my mentors in medical school, Norman Cousins, he wrote a book about curing his own disease, ankylosing spondylitis, with laughter. His primary medicine was Laurel and Hardy movies. And he wrote another great book entitled Head First, and it's really a compilation of studies on the psycho-neuro-immunology. That's the fancy term for holistic medicine. And he was focusing, one of the great, all these thoughts are coming to me, and I still have to come back to the Dalai Lama story. But one of the great studies that was done, you could only do this in LA. They hired a bunch of actors to be in this study, and then they drew their blood. And then they passed out cards, and all the cards had a different emotion on them. So one might say love, and the other one said hate, and another one said indifference, and another one said happy, and another one said mad, and just all these different emotions. And these actors were asked to emote these emotions, just acting, emoting them. And 20 minutes after they acted these emotions, their blood was drawn again. And there was as much as 200% difference between the up, happy, love kind of emotions and the down, mad, sad kind of emotions. A 200% difference in immune system parameters. So it's absolutely huge. And yet we think we can run around being grumpy all day. And it just doesn't work out that way. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Fran.
Yeah. Hi, Fran. Let's go back. I want to tell the story of the Dalai Lama.
Yes, I was going to remind you if you weren't going on to that next.
Because I was lecturing in China a few years ago. It's a really big deal. We were lecturing at what is the equivalent of Harvard University in China. It was a big deal. And I mean, they were putting on the red carpet. It was a lot of fun. We were serious VIPs. And in my talk at the very end, I have this slide. It's been there for years. I didn't even think of it. And the slide is a picture of the Dalai Lama, and he says, if you think that you're too insignificant to make a difference, try sleeping in a room with a mosquito. Little tiny mosquito makes a really big difference, doesn't it? And it turns out that the Dalai Lama is considered a terrorist in China. And so they had printed these books of all of our slides. There was a book for every day, and each book was this thick, printed. 300 of them or more passed out to the people in the audience. They had to collect all of the books back and reprint them overnight because of that one picture. Oops.
My question is, why couldn't they cut out the picture?
I don't know. Doesn't it seem like that would have been the easy way to do it?
To me, it does, but maybe there was a reason behind it. But I've always, with that story, it's always bothered me. Like, why not just cut out that one picture?
Yeah, you could have just ripped it out. It was actually, it was literally the very last page. I don't know, but they reprinted them, and I have one of the few remaining copies that have that picture in it. So. I have a book entitled The Psychological, I can't remember the name of it, Psychological something of gene expression. Anyway, it's a book about this thick, the size of a college textbook, and it's just about how your psychological state and different psychological states affect your genetic expression. So this is real stuff. It's not just, the idea that we just have emotions and they're unrelated to our physical health or our physical bodies is just false. whether there's some controversy, there's dualists and monoists, and so the dualists might say that the mind is outside of the brain, and so they might say, well, thoughts cause neurotransmitter levels, and other people say, well, neurotransmitter levels and thoughts are the same thing. Whichever one you believe, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is that they're intertwined. So having a morose mood actually negatively influences your immune system. And so then that leads us into what on earth can we do to change sort of our outlook on life?
Well, and I think there's also a flip side to that. It's great to have positive intentions and really look for those things that you're grateful for, but I think it's equally important when it comes to our emotions and those negative emotions and those hard feelings that we give them a voice as well. We don't,
thank you for that.
Instead of just going about our day thinking, well, everything's positive and those negative things, nope, I'm going to replace that with positive stuff. We have real emotions, and there's reasons why we have those emotions, and we need to feel those emotions because they're energy in motion and they're meant to feel and deal with, and that's okay. It's okay to sometimes have negative emotions and to process those in a healthy way. It's not okay to stuff them down, just as like it's not okay to keep replaying that record as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. I love, you always say emotions are E in motion, energy in motion, and I like to say that emotions are meant to be emoted and feelings meant to be felt. But you also said, not just replay the same tape of that bad emotion. It's the idea is to bring it up, feel it, emote it, and process it so that you evolve into it and you can embrace it. I said yesterday that the only way you really get past things is by embracing those things about yourself that you find the most repugnant, right? We don't, if your child is acting out and being, behaving in a way that you really don't like, smacking them around almost never really helps, right? What helps is a hug and unconditional love. And that's what we need to do to ourselves, but we don't, right? We walk around with these tapes about how we're a steaming sack of dung and stuff like that, instead of really embracing those things that we find the most repugnant. If we do that, that's when change happens.
Hi, Jane.
Yeah, hi, Jane, and thank you, Carol. That was a nice thing to say. Yeah. So, cracking my back. So, this emotional state, but so how do you turn your emotional state around? Well, your feelings are meant to be felt, and your emotions meant to be emoted. So it's okay. It's okay to have crummy emotions, but figure out why. And repressing your emotions only causes them to perpetuate. So we don't want to do that.
No. We go through thinking that, life is always supposed to be happy, and when these things come along that are negative,
all you got to do is go on Instagram. You'll know right away it's supposed to be happy.
It just knocks us down because it's like every corner there's always something else, but that's just life. So part of life is pain, and part of life is feeling pain. And it's really, if you look back in those moments of your life, yes, we have beautiful moments, but it's those painful, hard times that shape us. So it's not only okay to feel those uncomfortable feelings and deal with those hard emotions. It's healthy for us to do that.
Yeah.
Because it, sharpens us.
How do you know it's good if you haven't experienced bad?
Yeah. You need the rain. Plants need rain to grow just as much as they need the sun.
I like rain.
I love a rainy day because it gives me an excuse to not do anything.
I like it just because it feels good.
It smells great too.
Yeah. So this idea, I saw a patient a few years ago. She came in, she was just distraught. And, we were talking and, what was really the problem? Well, she had lost her way. She had lost her relationship with God. And all she wanted was God to love her. And I said, okay, done. He already does. It's not about whether or not God loves you, right? It's about whether or not you accept or recognize that love. And, then she was talking about how, this thing and this terrible thing and whatever. And I said, okay, well, let me ask you a question. If your daughter, was, I don't know, something terrible happened, and she got involved in drugs, got all strung out on heroin, did all kinds of awful things, maybe stole money for her habit, whatever, and then maybe got really messed up and committed suicide. The ultimate sin by, some religious ideals. And so now, you've now died. You've lived a long life. You've taken good care of yourself. You're taking good care of everybody around you. And now you've passed away of natural causes. And you're sitting in this hallway. And down there, it's really hot. And over that way, it's really bright and beautiful. And you're sitting in this hallway, and your daughter walks by. And you see her, and she goes, "Oh my God, Mom, I am so sorry. I got so involved. I realize now what a mistake I made and how awful it was for you. And I'm so sorry." I said, wouldn't you probably forgive your daughter? And she, of course, said, "Oh, immediately. I would embrace her and hug her, and it would be such a wonderful thing." And I said, okay, why do you think your capacity for grace and forgiveness is greater than God's? Grace, no matter what we've done, it's forgiven. As long as we, realize it. Now, I sin every single day. I screw up one way or another every single day. And so does everybody else. Mm-hmm. But, hopefully at the end of it all, we see something clearer. And we have, oh, wow, I screwed that up. And guess what? You say, oh, well, I screwed that up. Have that honesty with yourself. Grace. So the spiritual angst that we, especially Catholics, carry around, the guilt of the Catholic, right? Or the guilt of the Jew, the Jewish moms, they're famous for, using guilt to get their way. It's a stereotype, of course, but it's a story that's replete. I grew up with a whole bunch of friends who were Jewish, and they told all kinds of stories about how their moms got them to do stuff by making them feel guilty, which I think is exactly the same thing that Catholic moms are good at doing. But anyway, and religion in general, right, is filled with guilt because we're never going to measure up to, whoever you want to measure up to. And so it causes angst and anxiety and guilt and concern. And I don't think anything's really helpful for us. Mm-hmm. Christy, greetings. Carmen, greetings.
Christy.
Great to see you. Yeah, well, great to see your typing. Mm-hmm. So if you've come late, we're talking about the mental, emotional, spiritual node of functional medicine. It's really an area of functional medicine that I believe is critical to all of health. I started, as they say, as a young Turk, deep into biochemistry. I mean, I was a biochemistry TA in med school, and my undergraduate degree is in biochemistry, and deep into that stuff. In fact, I spent all day today sitting at my computer doing a deep dive into some COVID stuff for a project that the Institute for Functional Medicine is doing. And so it's all biochemical mechanisms and whatever. So I'm deep into that stuff. But as I get more mellow, I realize that it was Voltaire who said, "Medicine is the art of entertaining the patient while nature cures the disease." And as what we used to be called in the times before scientific medicine, we were called physician priests, right? And as a physician priest, I've come to realize that it is the psychosocial, spiritual realm that really is at least a trigger and certainly a perpetuator of most disease. And now that doesn't mean that everybody's walking around with a fake illness, that they don't have illness. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that it has been shown in science now that social interactions and psychosocial things are among the most powerful interventions for disease. You know, some people say we're herd animals. Humans aren't herd animals, they're troop animals. A group of primates is called a troop. And if you take a primate away from its mother and, you know, feed it on a machine, they go completely nuts. And yet, we live in the most isolated society that's ever been on Earth, America. And it's only worse because of social media. Social media doesn't make it better, it makes it worse. So it's no surprise that industrial, you know, we've come to a place in society where young couples think that they have to do it all on their own. And, you know, they would be like weak or something if their mother or mother-in-law came and helped with a newborn baby. But that's how it's been done for millennia. You know, we have co-evolved with help. It's kind of insane that young couples are kind of think and maybe even their families think that they should just take care of it because, you know, that's the way I did it or whatever. Well, it's not the way your grandparents did it or your great-grandparents or your great-great-grandparents or your great-great-great-grandparents. But it's the way maybe your parents and you are doing it. Well, it's not normal. It's normal to have lots of help.
Right. We're meant to live in tribes and communities, not in big homes with a few of us in there.
And no neighbors. Like right now.
Yeah.
Even if you have a neighbor, you don't have a neighbor.
No neighbors. I've lived my whole life in the country, so I've never really had a neighbor.
Let's see what Yolanda's trying to tell us. You seem to have magic fingers. There we go.
I think we live in a world where we think we have to be perfect.
Yep.
And we are too hard on ourselves. We need more self-love and grace. And, you know, the thing is, where did we get this perfect from anyway? Because there is not one person that's perfect. Perfect does not exist.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Perfect doesn't exist. So we need to all lower our standards a little bit and, you know, just accept what we can do in any given moment. And some days my best is letting my 6-year-old watch too much television because, you know, nowadays there's a little bit extra screen time than usual because I've had to lower some standards so we all stay sane. But there is no perfect. And I think that, you know, when we think of all the compassion and grace we give to the other people in our life, especially like our children, we need to give some of that back to ourselves. I'm the worst when it comes to guilt. I can guilt myself all day long, but if I'm not aware of it. I've become much more aware of it over the past couple decades.
30 minutes ago, we were sitting on the couch in the living room, and it was beautiful. It was the sun was, it was the evening time. We're looking out the window, and I was just relaxing, and it was beautiful. And she goes, I think I'll go clean something. It's like,
okay, that was not 30 minutes ago. That was like 3 days ago, but...
Well, whatever.
It was not today. It was like 30 minutes ago, but...
I thought it was. Anyway, whatever. Time flies when you're having fun. But it's like, no, just sit here for a minute. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course I was sitting...
Well, you were on your phone, so I was like, I was sitting there just looking out the window. I'm like, well, he's on his phone. Guess what? I'm going to go clean. But anyway... Yes, Carol, it takes a village. I agree. We need more villages and tribes. Jane, my mom was there with each birth. Great. Oh, that's so beautiful. I meant after birth. Either way, it's beautiful.
Either way. Yeah, both, all.
Meaning after we left the hospital. Yeah, you know, that's one thing I always wish I would have had is somebody home with me when I was first home with my babies. And that's something that I'm definitely going to do for my daughter, whether she wants me there or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's great because even if you don't want to ask for the help or you don't think you need the help, there's just so much just in being present and supportive. When
my grandkids were little, we would sleep through the night because that's their kid, right? But first thing in the morning, I'd grab the guy and go downstairs, and we'd play for a little while and whatever, and give the parents, my son and his wife, a few hours to just catch up on some sleep. And then, of course, baby gets hungry and starts screaming, and only mom can fix that, because at that early age they weren't bottling milk yet. And so anyway,
Mandy, I'm not good at just sitting. Just ask my sister. Hello, by the way. Hello. I'm trying to be better at sitting.
So I used to have patients who would say, I can't be hypnotized. It's like, well, okay, it's fine if you don't want to be hypnotized, but if you can't be hypnotized, or if you can't sit still, maybe you should investigate that. Because you should be able to you should be able to do anything you choose to do. So if you can't...
Right, you're just distracting yourself from what?
Yeah.
From being present with yourself.
Yeah.
So, like I was the other night, I was actually being a little defiant, like, okay, you're on your phone, I'm gonna go clean. Christy, cleaning now, getting to bed sooner in my mom world. Yes.
There's a lot to do.
That's true.
There's a lot to do, and the question is, what do you let go of? The other day I turned the camera around to show the dog on the floor, and Elizabeth just about died because my side of the room is an absolute disaster area, but I choose to live with that level of chaos because there's too many things in life to do, and I don't want to spend my time cleaning a room that I don't care about. Now, on the other hand, it makes her very nervous, so she's got to take, massive doses of benzodiazepines to survive with me. But I'm kidding, of course. But it is different people have different levels of what they're willing to tolerate in their life, and I would rather do something else than clean off the dresser in the bedroom. So we all have our cleanostat. Mine happens to be way down here.
I just have like a junkostat. Like if there's a bunch of junk lying around, I don't want to see it. Put it in a box. I don't care. Like you can shove it. Like I don't mind if you're a shover. Like
that's what she says to me. You can shove it.
If you want to put it up in the cupboard or tuck it away, but when it's out everywhere and it just.
But my filing system.
Just too much going on. I already have enough going on up here. It's like at least my exterior needs to be calm.
My filing system is a thin layer on all horizontal surfaces. So
mixed with dog drool.
Mixed with dog drool is absolutely right. Everything I own has dog drool on it. Yeah. So this idea of psychosocial, spiritual, or mental, emotional, spiritual health is kind of like sleep. It's a domain of health that we just don't think enough about. And I think maybe since right now we're taking care of the kids and cleaning the house and all that stuff, but at least we're not going to work, maybe there's a moment in the day to give just a tiny bit of thought to some of these topics of, what is going on? Why am I so anxious? What is going on that I'm so anxious? And, is it a learned behavior? Is it an idea that everything has to be perfect and I'm anxious because obviously things aren't perfect, because nothing is. And instead, maybe we can learn to embrace the perfection of imperfection. Which sounds strange, but, there is a perfection in just allowing things to be imperfect. What do you got down there?
I am not. Oh, you want to know the time?
Yeah.
Our time. Oh, 31 minutes.
Gee.
Let's see what all we're.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Jane, I agree with Elizabeth. It's not just about cleaning. It's overwhelming. Yeah, it's a little overwhelming for my senses. We're gonna start a little Tom clean his side of the room group.
Yeah.
No, teasing.
Yeah, comment if you want me to clean my end table off.
Eventually, little by little, I'll get to it.
Yeah, but then I won't be able to find my stuff.
That's true.
Oh well. I noticed that my lunchbox for my ski trip is in the middle of my side of the bed right now. I guess that means I'm supposed to do something.
Right, you've only been home for a month. Like, I was like, maybe if I put it on the bed, like, he'll have to move. It'll just go on the nightstand instead.
Yeah. What do we got here? OMG.
I love you, Elizabeth. Fran thinks I'm a freak. And then Carol said, I shared a desk
wait a
with
second.
Tom.
If Fran thinks you're a freak for cleaning, Fran is a freak for cleaning. So you must be a mega freak.
And Carol's just pointing out that she has shared a desk with you, which I can't. Did you have?
Did my stuff spread onto your side?
Did you have like a small corner in the desk? Like, where was your spot?
Yeah. 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 You were abused, no question. Yeah. All right. So I think there's some concrete things you can do with your mental, emotional, and spiritual space. And one of them is really to create ritual. And that's, if you think about it, that's really what all religious traditions do. And it's what every civilization has done from tribal civilization. I can almost speak. Mm-hmm. Whether it's small tribal communities in the Amazon or it's gigantic basilicas of the Catholic religion and everything in between, there's ritual. Mm-hmm. And ritual gives framework. It gives order. And so, we've published our morning ritual, and we've talked about it a number of times. I think it's a beautiful ritual that really helps set the tone for the day. But doing little things during the day. We talked yesterday, the day before, about sort of a demarcation between the work day and the evening, and just sort of give your spouse a hug and sort of agree, okay, work's over, the evening's starting, and this is family time. Or whatever kind of ritual makes sense to you, but incorporating ritual into your day, it's not so much the thing you do, it's the fact that you do it. It's the fact that it's a demarcation, and it's sort of a passage. If you're making passages throughout your day, then it means that you're being thoughtful about what's happening in your day. Mm-hmm. Like in the Islamic religion, you pray multiple times per day, right? And it's amazing to me. I know devout Christians who make fun of these people who are praying to God. And yet they go and they pray to God every day, but they don't do it in the same way, so they make fun. But imagine, no matter what your religion is, imagine if several times a day you stopped in a serious way and you were reverent in a serious way for just a few minutes. And even if you're secular, if you're a secular humanist, what if you were to simply stop and recognize the beauty of culture, whatever, several times a day? Imagine the perspective change you have. Instead of just droning through and pushing and elbowing your way through the day, trying to get stuff done. I think it's important to kind of to create your own ritual. Ritual with structure. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's not what you do, it's why you do it. So really, what is your intention behind your actions, and really focus on living with intention. So what is your intention in life, or what is your intention today? And if your intention is to live a well-balanced whole life, then obviously we need to set aside time for this huge piece, which is the mental, emotional, spiritual. And a lot of that also coincides with the stress management and
Yeah.
you know, those different techniques. Meditation is great. Meditation is a time where we can, you know, it's like we do all day long and we think and we, you know, ask, or meditation is just a time to just sit and listen. Just listen to your body, listen to your emotions, you know, just sit in silence for a bit. Sometimes it's kind of amazing the things that will float up to the surface when you're quiet for just a moment.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So.
Gene.
Hi. So, you know, we've been on about 30 minutes. We don't want to take your whole life away. So I think we're going to sign off for tonight unless there are other questions.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back on Monday. And we're going to work hard over the weekend to figure out what we're going to talk about. But it'll be related to functional medicine. And as always, please, please, please bring your questions. I love it. We love it when we're answering questions rather than us just droning on. So we'll be talking about whole life wellness through functional medicine on Monday evening at 8:30. And we will see you then. I'm going to just check to see if anybody's typing, and there's somebody typing.
Oh,
Happy Easter,
Happy
absolutely.
Easter, yes.
Yeah, well, you know, here they made these little clay, I guess they are, Easter eggs, and hung them along the state trail, and I guess the kids are going to go out and point at them or something, because they're not supposed to touch them, but they can go point at them.
You can read them. Some of them have messages on the back, and kind of cute to see.
Yep. So hopefully they'll all be, they should put, you know, like on the roads where they have the dots on to keep the cars a certain amount apart, they should put dots on the trail so that everybody stays one dot apart or something. Anyway, yep, happy Easter, everybody.
Yeah.
We will see you on
Have
Monday.
a wonderful weekend. And
Yep. Eat
stay
too much.
safe.
Eat too many eggs.